The first thing I heard was Jason laughing in a room he should not have been in. It was late on Christmas Eve, cold enough that the boards under the barn had gone stiff. I was heading down toward the cellar because Emily had asked if I still had the red wine her mother used to save for special dinners. I told her I did. I told her I would get it myself. Then I heard his voice through the back wall. "You just need to wait," Jason said. "Once Thomas is gone, everything moves to Emily, then we sell it." I stopped on the stairs with my hand on the railing. There was a pause. Then a woman answered him. "And she still doesn't suspect anything?" It was Lauren, Emily's friend, her oldest friend, the woman helping her frost cookies in my kitchen an hour earlier. Jason gave a low laugh. "Emily believes what she wants to believe. If that had happened in your house, would you have walked in right then?" I did not. I listened. "I can keep her leaning the right way," Jason said. "Once the inheritance is settled, I'll push the idea that the ranch is too much for her, too remote, too expensive, too emotional. She'll sell." Lauren said, "And Noah?" Then he said, "Noah was never the point." Lauren spoke again. "And if Emily fights you?" "She won't," Jason said. "Not once I control the narrative. She already thinks her father judges me," he said. "That part is easy. If Thomas pushes too hard, I can make him sound bitter and controlling. Emily hates conflict. She'll shut him out before she questions me." Lauren let out a quiet breath that sounded almost amused. "You really married her for this." "For the money," Jason said. "Let's not dress it up." I stayed where I was until I heard movement inside that room. Then I stepped back up the stairs, slow and silent, before either of them opened the door. By the time I came into the kitchen, Emily was laughing at something Noah had said, flour on her sleeve, cheeks warm from the oven. Lauren looked up from the counter and smiled at me like nothing in the world was wrong. "Did you find it?" Emily asked. I held up the bottle. Jason came in a few seconds later, calm as Sunday. "Need help with dinner tomorrow, Tom?" "No," I said. He smiled anyway. "You sure?" I said no. Emily glanced between us. "Dad." Jason lifted both hands in that easy way of his. "Just offering. This ranch has been in my family a long time. You can tell when somebody sees land as home, and when somebody sees land as inventory." Jason saw inventory. Later that night, after Noah had fallen asleep and the house had gone quiet, Emily found me in the mudroom checking the furnace. "You've barely looked at Jason all evening," she said. I looked at him. "You know what I mean." I kept my eyes on the pilot flame. "Do I?" She folded her arms. "You always do this. He tries and you keep him at arm's length." "That's not true." "It is true." I turned then. "How well do you know him, Emily?" She frowned. "What kind of question is that?" "A plain one. I'm married to him, Dad." That wasn't my question. Her expression changed. Not to fear, to irritation. "He loves me," she said. I said nothing. "That look right there," she said quietly. "That's exactly what I mean." So I said the only thing I could say without losing her too soon. "Be careful who you trust." Emily stepped back. "That includes my husband?" "That includes anyone." She gave a small, tired laugh. "You really can't let it go." Then she walked away. Maybe I was wrong, but it didn't feel right. Christmas morning came bright and sharp. Noah was up before dawn, tearing into the day with the kind of joy adults forget too easily. Jason played the perfect husband, kneeling beside boxes, lifting wrapping paper, putting batteries into toys, kissing Emily's temple at the right moments. Lauren hugged Noah when he showed her his new truck. All of it looked normal. At breakfast, Jason asked, "Tom, have you ever considered what this place is worth now?" Emily looked at him. "Jason, I'm just talking," he said. "Montana land is climbing, especially family acreage like this." "No," I said. He blinked. "No what?" "No, I have not considered selling it." He smiled again. "Didn't say selling, just value." I held his eyes. "You were thinking it." Silence settled over the table. Lauren lifted her coffee. Emily stared at me. Jason leaned back in his chair. "You're reading a lot into a simple question," he said. "Am I?" Emily set down her fork. "Can we not do this today?" I let it go because Noah was there, and because Christmas morning was not the place to fight a battle I was not yet ready to win. But inside, the line had already been crossed. I knew what I had heard. The only question left was how far it went. I called a private investigator 2 days after everyone left. He was former law enforcement, quiet and thorough. I told him I needed discretion. "What kind of problem?" he asked. "A family one," I said. "Those are usually the worst kind." "Yes," I said. "I believe that. He came to the ranch after the snow had settled along the fence lines. I met him in the office off the barn. His name was Walter Green. "Start from the top," he said. So I did. I told him about the cellar, about Jason, about Lauren, about the inheritance, about the plan to wait for my death, persuade Emily to sell, and leave with the money. I repeated Jason's words as closely as I could. Walter wrote almost nothing down. He just listened. When I finished, he asked, "Does your daughter control any independent money?" "Yes, her mother left her a private fund." "Does the husband have access?" "I don't know." He nodded once. "What else do you know about him?" "Not enough. That can change." I looked past him through the office window toward the main house. "She won't believe me yet," I said. "Then don't go to her yet," Walter said. "Go to the facts." "Can you do it quietly?" I asked. "If I take the job, yes." "Take it." He closed his notebook. "Then understand this. If your instincts are right, what you heard was just the loose edge. There's usually more." He stood to leave, then paused at the door. "One more thing," he said. "If we find something, you cannot move too early. Men like that survive by staying half a step ahead of outrage." I said, "I'm not interested in outrage." "What are you interested in?" "The truth." Walter held my gaze for a second. "Good, because that's the only thing that holds up." By New Year's Day, I had made up my mind about one thing. I would not confront Jason without proof. I would not warn Lauren. I would not let either of them see the ground moving under their feet. If Emily was going to lose her illusion, it had to be to something stronger than a father's suspicion. So I waited. Walter called me 9 days later while I was repairing a latch on the south fence. "I've got enough to say your concern wasn't personal bias," he said. I straightened slowly. "Go on." "Your son-in-law's real estate company is carrying more debt than it should be able to hide. There are active legal disputes tied to unpaid obligations and questionable transactions. He's been skating close to collapse." "How close?" "Closer than a man admits at family dinners." Walter continued, "There's more. I found movement around the fund your wife left Emily." I felt something tighten across my chest. "What kind of movement?" "Withdrawals. Quiet ones. Structured small enough not to trigger obvious alarm at first glance." "Authorized?" "That's what I'm trying to pin down." "When will you know?" "Soon. But you need to prepare yourself. This is already past bad instincts." That evening, Emily called me herself. For a moment, I hoped she wanted to talk about Christmas. Instead, she asked whether I still had a copy of an old property tax record she needed for a routine financial review Jason was organizing. "Jason's organizing it?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "He's helping me streamline things." I kept my voice level. "Why does he need old records from this ranch?" "He said it would help us map long-term planning." "For what?" There was a short silence. "Dad, why are you interrogating me?" "I'm asking. You always do this when it involves him. That answer doesn't tell me what he needs." She exhaled. "He thinks we should have a full picture of my assets." "Emily, do not sign anything right now without reading every line." Another silence. Then her tone hardened. "I know how to read." "That's not what I meant." "It sounds like what you meant." I closed my eyes for a second. "Listen to me, please." "No, you listen to me. You don't trust Jason." "I get it. But you are not going to keep treating me like I'm 12. "I'm trying to protect you," I said. "From my husband?" "From anyone using you." Her voice turned flat. "I have to go." She hung up before I could answer. "Tell me honestly, would that have made sense to you?" Walter came by 2 days later with a folder and a recorder. We sat in my office again. "The debt trail is real," he said. "Multiple creditors, a pattern of short-term fixes, some pending disputes tied to deals that didn't hold up, enough to create serious pressure." He set photos on the desk. Jason leaving a restaurant in Denver. Jason entering a building Lauren had also entered 30 minutes earlier. Jason and Lauren together near a parking garage, closer than friends should be. "Not the whole picture," Walter said, "but it's heading that direction." He opened the folder again. "I also pulled background on Jason's past relationships," he said. "There's a pattern. Wealthy women, fast attachment, financial entanglement, breakdown, asset loss after the split. How many?" "Enough." "You have names?" "I do. I'm not giving them to you yet. I'm still verifying what I can use." He slid over a bank summary. "Someone has been drawing from Emily's private account in a way that suggests access by trust, not force. I am still tracing authority. But the money moved." "Can I take this to Emily now?" I asked. Walter shook his head. "You can. But if she's already primed to see you as hostile, she may show him everything. Then he adapts. What do you suggest? Keep building. A week later, I drove to Denver under the excuse of seeing Noah's school program. That part was true. I went because I missed my grandson. Jason opened the door before Emily reached it. Tom, he said, like he was surprised and pleased both. Good to see you. Is it? He gave a mild laugh. Still direct. Emily hugged me. Noah was cheerful, and for an hour everything stayed on the surface. Emily made coffee. Jason talked about a development deal. Lauren arrived carrying a tin of cookies as if this were still normal. She kissed Emily on the cheek and handed Noah a wrapped toy. She looked at me only once. Not guilt. Calculation. Later, after Noah went to bed, I found Lauren alone in the kitchen rinsing glasses. You staying late? I asked. She did not turn around at first. Maybe. You spend a lot of time here. She dried a glass carefully. Emily is my best friend. I watched her set the glass down. Are you? Now she looked at me. I know you don't like me much. That's not an answer. Her face stayed calm. I think grief has made you suspicious of people. I stepped closer. Be careful with my daughter. Lauren held my gaze. You should let Emily live her own life. When I left that night, Jason walked me to my truck. She worries about you, he said. Does she? She thinks you're lonely. I said nothing. He put his hands in his coat pockets. Losing your wife changed things. I understand that. No, you don't. He nodded as if I had made his point for him. You see threats where there aren't any. I turned toward him. And you see assets where there should be family. Then he recovered. Drive safe, Tom. On the way back to Montana, Walter called again. I've got recordings, he said. My hand tightened on the wheel. Of what? Jason and Lauren meeting privately. Enough to establish the affair. Enough to establish intent tied to Emily's assets. Not all of it is clean audio, but some of it is very clean. I pulled over near Livingston. What exactly did they say? Walter paused, then answered with the restraint of a man who had heard too much already, that Emily is useful because she trusts both of them. That once the ranch and related holdings are liquidated, they plan to leave together. That Jason thinks Emily is emotionally dependent enough to manipulate. And there's more, Walter said. Jason mentioned building a case that Emily is unstable. I felt my pulse in my throat. Say that again. He talked about collecting examples, creating a record, making her look unreliable if she becomes difficult. For custody? That would be my red. I asked, can you prove the account withdrawals now? Almost. I need one more confirmation. When? Soon. By the time I reached the ranch, I had made another decision. I would go to Emily the moment Walter had enough to put in front of her. Not because she was ready, because Jason was moving too fast. At the end of that week, Walter brought me photographs, transaction summaries, and transcripts of selected recordings. Jason and Lauren in hotel corridors. Jason saying Emily would break exactly where expected. Lauren laughing when he said Thomas would probably die stubborn and suspicious anyway. Jason talking about the ranch as the real prize. I asked, will this hold? Walter said, it will hold better than suspicion. Maybe you see it differently, but I did not see a marriage anymore. I saw a controlled demolition in progress. I called Emily that night. We need to talk in person, I said. About what? Jason. Her voice cooled immediately. I'm not doing this over the phone. Good, I said. Then I'll come to Denver. She hesitated. Why? Because this can't wait. Then she said, fine, come tomorrow. By morning, the folder was in my truck beside me, and I was driving toward the hardest conversation of my life. Emily met me at a coffee shop in Denver because she said she did not want a scene at the house. She sat by the window in a gray coat, hands around a cup she was not drinking. When I sat down, she did not smile. You've scared me half to death, she said. I didn't come to scare you. Then why do you look like that? Because I need you to listen all the way through before you say anything. Her eyes narrowed. That depends on what this is. I put the folder on the table between us. This is about Jason, I said. And Lauren. She stared at the folder, then at me. No, you haven't heard it yet. I don't need to. No. I opened the folder and slid the first photograph across. Jason entering a hotel, Lauren entering the same hotel, same date, same night, then another, then a printed transcript of a conversation Walter had recorded. Emily did not touch any of it. This is insane, she said. It's evidence. It's spying. It's protection. She pushed the photo back toward me as if it were dirty. You hired someone to follow my husband? Yes. Her face flushed with shock more than anger. You had no right. I had every right when I heard him planning to strip this family down to cash. That stopped her for a second. Then she said, too sharply, he what? So I told her. Not all at once. Plainly. The cellar, Christmas Eve, Lauren in the back room, Jason saying he was waiting for me to die so Emily would inherit everything. Jason saying he would persuade her to sell the ranch. Jason saying he married her for money. Jason saying Noah was never the point. Emily's eyes filled, but she shook her head almost before I finished. No, she whispered. No, you misunderstood. I did not. You hate him. I do now. You always did. That does not make this false. She stood up so quickly the chair scraped the floor. You want to ruin my marriage because you never accepted it. People turned to look. I stayed seated. Sit down, I said. Don't tell me what to do. Emily, she leaned toward me, voice shaking. Do you hear yourself? Hiring a private investigator? Following us? Listening to recordings? Dragging Lauren into this? This is not normal. No, I said. It isn't. What they did isn't normal. She laughed then, but there was no humor in it. You expect me to believe Jason is sleeping with my best friend and plotting to steal my life because you say you heard something through a wall on Christmas Eve? I expect you to read what's in front of you. I expect you to stop. I slid the bank summary toward her. Money has been leaving the fund your mother left you. She looked at it despite herself. What is this? She asked. Withdrawals. Quiet ones. Her hand trembled once, then went still. Jason manages transfers for us sometimes. Did you authorize these? She hesitated, just a second. Then she said, I'm not discussing my finances with you. You tell me, was I supposed to ignore that? Emily, listen to me, I said. This is bigger than an affair. She gathered the papers into a pile and shoved them back across the table. I'm done. You think I made all of this up? I think grief has turned you into someone I barely recognize. I stood then. That sentence came from him. Her face changed, just for a second. Then she said, No, it came from me. She picked up her purse. Do not contact Jason. Do not contact Lauren. And do not do this again. I'm your father. Yes, she said. And right now that's the only reason I'm walking away instead of calling the police. Then she left. Walter called me an hour later. How'd it go? He asked. Like you thought. He was quiet. She showed signs of doubt? Only around the money. That may matter later. It doesn't matter now. What else do you have? I asked. I'm chasing a forged document trail, he said. There are indications Jason has been preparing paperwork beyond the withdrawals. What kind of paperwork? I need confirmation before I say. Say it anyway. Walter hesitated. Possibly documents designed to challenge Emily's capacity. Possibly transfer authorizations. I don't have the full chain yet. When I got back to Montana, Emily stopped answering my calls. She did not respond to texts. Then the first rumor reached me through a mutual acquaintance in Bozeman who had spoken to somebody in Denver. Jason had been telling people I was becoming erratic, that I was grieving badly, that I had become obsessed with controlling Emily's marriage and finances. He was doing exactly what he said he would do. I called Walter. He's moving against me, I said. I expected that. I need something solid enough to break through. Walter answered. Then here it is. I confirmed a signature issue. I waited. The withdrawals from Emily's private fund include authorizations that do not appear to be hers, he said. I'm not ready to call every one of them forged yet, but some almost certainly are. Almost? I need the final comparison. Get it. I am. That same week, he sent me a packet with more recordings. Jason talking to Lauren about timing. Jason saying Emily still trusted him enough to sign without reading when she was tired. Lauren asking whether Thomas would cause trouble. Jason saying, he already has. But if Emily cuts him off, it solves itself. Near the end of February, Walter called past midnight. I've got it, he said. What? Transfer documents. Large ones. Jason appears to be moving nearly $2 million into offshore accounts using Emily's forged signature. Can you prove the signature is forged? Yes, confidently. Then I'm going to her again. Walter stopped me. Wait, I have waited. I know, but listen, if you warn her now without a way to secure the records, he may destroy whatever is still in reach. What do you suggest? Let me package everything. Financial trail, signature comparison, audio, photos, background pattern. If this breaks, It needs to break completely. 3 days later, before I could make my next move, Emily called me. I answered on the first ring. Her breathing was uneven. Dad? Yes. Another breath. I found something. What did you find? Papers. In Jason's office. Transfer documents with my name on them. She was trying to stay steady and failing. I didn't sign them. Are you alone? Yes. Jason took Noah to the park. He thinks I'm upstairs resting. Listen carefully. Take pictures of everything. I already did. Good. Put the originals back exactly where you found them. I did that too. Then she said the sentence I had been waiting and dreading to hear. You were telling the truth. I closed my eyes. Emily, I found more, she said. Notes, not just transfers. Notes about me, about my moods, about memory issues, about whether I seemed emotional in front of Noah. Her voice cracked. He's building something. Yes, I said. I know. She started crying then, not loudly, but in the stunned way people cry when the structure around their life suddenly drops away. Why didn't I see it? She whispered. Because he built it slowly. I told you I would call the police on you. I know. I said horrible things. I know that too. She took a long breath. What do I do? You do not confront him alone unless you have to, I said. Do you understand me? There was a pause. I already did. What happened? He came home before I expected. I had one paper in my hand. Emily. He saw it. She swallowed hard. He didn't even deny it. My grip tightened on the phone. What did he say? He said if I turned this into a divorce fight, things could get ugly. He said courts listen when a father looks stable and a mother looks emotional. He said I could lose Noah. Where is Noah now? In his room. Jason brought him back. Jason is downstairs. Is Lauren there? No. Can you leave? I don't know. Did he touch you? No. Did he threaten Noah directly? No, just custody. Emily, listen to me. You are not staying in that house tonight. She whispered. I don't know if I can get out without him noticing. Then call Lauren, I said. Act normal, say you need her. Emily gave a broken laugh. I already did. And? A long silence. Then she said, she laughed at me. She said I was useful for longer than she expected. Emily whispered. She said Dad had figured it out before I did. I sat down because my legs no longer felt steady. That was the moment everything turned for you, I said. Yes. She took a shaky breath. Can you help me? No, I said. I'm coming. I drove through the night from Montana to Denver with Walter's full case file in a locked bag beside me. By the time I reached Denver, Emily and Noah were already out of the house. She had taken only what she needed. Clothes for Noah, her phone, her laptop, a folder of copied records. She met me in a parking garage 2 blocks from a prosecutor's office Walter had already contacted through a financial crimes channel. Noah was asleep in the back seat when I pulled in. Emily opened my truck door and stood there for a second without speaking. Then she said, I'm sorry. I shook my head once. Later. Tears filled her eyes, but she nodded. Okay. We moved fast after that because speed matters once a fraud starts collapsing. Walter joined us in the office that morning with the photographs, recordings, banking records, signature analysis, and background summaries from Jason's past. She looked at Emily and asked, Are you prepared to state that these signatures are not yours? Yes, Emily said. Are you prepared to state that the notes regarding your mental stability were created without your knowledge and used as leverage? Emily swallowed. Yes. The prosecutor nodded, then turned a page. And this woman, Lauren, is the same Lauren who appears in these recordings and photographs? Yes, Walter added. We also have corroboration from prior victims of similar financial patterns involving Jason. The prosecutor looked up. Victims willing to testify? Some of them, Walter said. Once contacted, we spent hours organizing timelines. Christmas Eve, the affair, the debt, the withdrawals, the forged signatures, the offshore transfers. The effort to construct a narrative that Emily was mentally unstable. Every piece had to connect to the next. No gaps, no guesswork. At one point, Emily pressed her fingers against her temple and said, I still don't understand how I missed it. The prosecutor answered before I could, because manipulation is easier to see from outside than inside. Emily looked at her, then down at the table. He used Noah. Yes, the prosecutor said. That's why you're here now. When we left the office, Emily sat in my truck with both hands around a bottle of water and did not drink from it. I need to ask you something, she said. Ask. When you heard them that night, did you hate me for not seeing it? I looked at her. No, I said. I hated him for building it. Then her phone lit up with Jason's name. She froze. Put it on speaker, I said. She did. His voice came through calm and low. Where are you? Emily kept hers steady. Out. With Noah? Yes. A pause. You left in a hurry. I needed space. From what? Emily looked at me. I said nothing. She answered, from you. Another pause. Then Jason said, your father got to you. Emily said, no. Your paperwork got to me. Silence. When he spoke again, the softness was gone. Emily, listen carefully. You are upset. That makes people reckless. She stared ahead. Did you forge my name? He let out a breath through his nose. This is exactly why I've documented your instability. There it was, right out in the open. Emily's face went white, but her voice held. You really did it. I protected this family from your impulsive decisions, Jason said. You have no idea how much pressure I've been under. She laughed once, in disbelief. Pressure? Yes, he said. Because somebody had to lead. Emily said, and Lauren? Jason went quiet. Then, don't make this uglier than it needs to be. That was his closest thing to confession. You used my son, she said. Noah needs stability. He needed a father. His answer came flat. He needed structure. I leaned closer and said, loud enough for Jason to hear, you are finished. A long silence followed. Then Jason said, so the old man is there. Emily closed her eyes. Jason's voice turned hard. Tell him this will not end the way he thinks. I said, no, it will end exactly the way you earned. He hung up. The next days moved with cold precision. Accounts were traced. Transfer records were frozen where possible. Statements were taken. Previous victims gave testimony about Jason's pattern. Charm first, dependence second, financial access third, damage last. Different women. Same architecture. Lauren held out longer than I expected. When investigators first approached her, she tried distance. She minimized, said she had made personal mistakes but had no role in financial matters, said Jason was under strain, said Emily was fragile. Even then she was still working the same script, but evidence compresses options. The photographs put them together. The recordings put her inside the plan. Financial records placed her in communications around timing and movement. Once Jason's forged transfers were laid beside her messages and meetings, the line from affair to conspiracy became much harder to deny. Emily asked me one night in the hotel, did Lauren ever care about me at all? Noah was asleep in the next room. I kept my voice low. I don't know, I said. That's worse. Yes. During preparation for court, the prosecutor walked Emily through likely defense tactics. Jason would frame himself as a pressured husband managing a chaotic family situation. He would suggest Emily consented to financial actions she later regretted. He would lean on instability. He would soften the affair, or deny timing, or blame Lauren. He would probably suggest I had driven the whole thing out of prejudice and grief. I can handle him lying about me, I said. The prosecutor looked straight at me. You don't need to handle him. You need to stay precise. She was right. The trial did not begin quickly, but once it did, it moved with real force. Jason looked smaller in a suit than he ever had in my house. Lauren avoided Emily's eyes for most of the first day. I testified to what I heard in the cellar. The words, the timing, the room behind the wine storage, Jason's plan to wait for my death, his intention to push Emily into selling the ranch, his statement that he married her for money, his statement about Noah. Jason's attorney tried to frame it as mishearing through a wall. You're nearly 70, Mr. Carter, he said. Is it possible emotion colored your memory? I answered no. Is it possible you disliked your son-in-law and filled in what you wanted to hear? No. Is it possible grief affected your judgment? No. He tried once more. You expected the worst from him, didn't you? I expected nothing that night, I said. Then I heard him tell the truth. Walter testified after me. So did the forensic analyst on the signatures. So did the financial investigator who walked the court through the transfers, the offshore accounts, the debt pressure, and the mismatch between Jason's claimed authority and Emily's actual consent. Prior victims described the same pattern in different settings, different years, same man. And then there was Lauren. For a while she tried to protect herself by pretending she had been pulled along. That might have worked if the recordings had not existed. Once they were played, the room changed. Her voice was clear on them, calm, informed, participating. When the prosecutor asked, Did you pretend friendship with Emily while carrying on an affair with her husband and discussing the sale of her family property? Lauren's first answer was evasive. By the end of cross-examination, it was not. Yes, she said. Jason never fully confessed in the clean way guilty men sometimes do when the wall closes in. He resisted to the end. But resistance is not the same as doubt, and it does not change records. Between the photos, the recordings, the forged signatures, the bank movements, and the testimony of earlier victims, there was nowhere left for him to stand that was not already collapsing. By the time arguments ended, the truth was no longer a family dispute. It was a documented pattern of fraud, deceit, theft, and conspiracy wrapped inside a marriage Jason had treated like a business vehicle, and now the court could see it. Jason was convicted in federal court and sentenced to 12 years in prison. Lauren received 5 years for her role in the fraud. The judge's language was dry, almost clinical, which suited me. What mattered was the result. Their plan had been named for what it was. Emily sat very still through sentencing. I could see how much effort that stillness cost her. When it was over, she did not look at Jason, not once. As for Jason, he finally turned toward us while officers were moving him out, not to apologize, not even to plead. He looked at Emily as if he still thought there had been some error in her refusal to stay useful. Then he looked at me. I held his eyes until they took him through the side door. At the start of the fallout, there was still practical work. Emily had to unwind accounts, statements, permissions, access trails, records touched by Jason, and years of assumptions he had made on her behalf. So we took it piece by piece. I stayed in Denver as long as she needed. Noah asked simple questions at first. Why isn't Dad here? Emily answered with the truth suitable for a 6-year-old. Dad did very wrong things, and he has to stay away from us. Then he asked, Did Grandpa know? Emily looked at me before answering. Yes, she said. Grandpa tried to warn me. Noah climbed into my lap after that and leaned against me with the full weight only a child can give without thinking about it. Emily turned away for a second because she was trying not to cry in front of him. At night, after Noah slept, Emily and I spoke in the quiet like two people rebuilding a bridge one plank at a time. One evening she said, When you came to Denver with the evidence, I hated you for a few hours. I know. I thought you were trying to control my life. I know that too. She sat with her hands wrapped around a mug. You still came back. Yes. Why? I looked at her because I wanted the answer to land plainly, because being loved by me was never going to depend on being right. When she calmed down, she said the hardest sentence of all. I brought him into Noah's life. You didn't build what he is, I said. I still opened the door. Yes, I said. And then you closed it. The ranch waited for us in Montana the whole time. Winter began to loosen at the edges while the last legal pieces fell into place. Emily decided on her own that she wanted to come home for a while. I want to go back, she said. I asked, for how long? She looked out the apartment window. Long enough to remember who I am without him. So we drove north together with Noah in the back seat and more boxes than either of us had planned. When the ranch came into view, Noah shouted first. We're home. Emily pressed her hand to her mouth. I pulled into the yard and cut the engine. For a second, none of us moved. Then Noah jumped out and ran toward the fence line. Emily stood beside me in the yard while wind moved through the dry grass. I didn't think I deserved to come back like this, she said. I turned to her. This was always your home. She shook her head a little. Even after I didn't believe you? Yes. Even after I shut you out? Yes. She let out one unsteady breath. I don't know how to carry that. You don't carry it, I said. You live better. Morning started early again. Noah liked feeding the horses even when he did it slowly. Emily began helping with records, then with ordering supplies, then with the parts of ranch life she had known as a girl and half forgotten as an adult in Denver. There were harder days, too. A form would remind her of forged signatures. A legal update would arrive and leave the afternoon heavier. On the first warm afternoon of spring, Emily and I sat on the porch after Noah fell asleep on the couch inside. The sky had gone pale gold over the pasture. She said, Do you ever wish you had confronted them that night in the cellar? I thought about it honestly. No, I said. I wish I had never heard it. But once I did, proof mattered more than anger. She nodded. If you had confronted them, I would have believed them. Yes, I said. Months later, Emily found the old Christmas box her mother used for ornaments and brought it to the kitchen table. She held one glass angel in her hand and said, I used to think losing trust meant losing judgment forever. And now? Now I think it means I have to build judgment on something better. That sounds right. She smiled faintly. You always answer like that. Like what? Like a fence post. I'll take that as praise. She laughed then, the first easy laugh I had heard from her in a long time. Noah came running in a moment later asking if he could help repaint the chicken coop. Emily said yes. He cheered like he had been handed a kingdom. I watched the two of them head outside together, my daughter and my grandson moving across ground that had nearly been turned into somebody else's exit plan. It was not a perfect ending. I do not believe in those. Emily lost years she cannot get back. Noah lost the father he thought he had. Trust, once split open, does not come back in its original form. But they were safe. The truth had stayed standing. That was enough for me. I locked the house that night, turned off the kitchen light, and listened to the place settle around us. For the first time in a long while, nothing inside it was hiding.